Hello and welcome to the Full Force Weekly, proudly brought to you by Battle Action Force, the Treasury Editions. I am your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80. In this episode, I bring you all the news from the past week in the world of G.I. Joe. So what is it, me? It's the Full Force Weekly. Hello, everyone. Oh, just knocked the table. How is everyone doing? Happy 2026, Happy New Year and all that good stuff. First weekly of 2026. And what's really funny about this one, well, not really funny, but what's really interesting about this one is that we haven't really had much in the way of news this week, but obviously we've got a whole year's worth of stuff to talk about. So I thought we'd do a year in review on this one, a 2025 year-end review, where I'm going to talk about some of the bigger stories that popped up over the year, and my top 10s for both, my personal top 10s for both Reaction Plus and Classified. So that should be kind of fun to do with you guys today. Yes. And then who knows what's to come after that. Anyway, yes, so I hope you had a lovely holiday break, guys. And we're kind of back at it, even though it's Saturday again. The weekend came around pretty quickly there, didn't it? But yeah, it's been an interesting 2025 from the perspective of action figures and G.I. Joe and Classified and all that kind of stuff. It's been a pretty impressive year, so much so that in my top 10s I was like constantly going, oh, that's gonna have to be an honorable mention, that's gonna have to that's gonna take that spot, like I had my top 10 and then I had to change it about 80 times. So anyway, no more 2025 listings page either, so that's gone. So we'll just be focusing on 2026 going forward now as well. So there you go. Loads of you in the chat already. Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a lovely holiday and a happy new year. And I hope it's a good one for you in 2026. But let's get stuck into 2025's review then. And I'm going to start with, obviously, comics. Yes, we're going to go into basically my thoughts over Skybound and also some of my favorite covers of the year as well. So let's get into it. Yes, so Skybound in 2025 has been, in my opinion, an absolute tour de force of comics brilliance, honestly. We've had obviously the A Real American Hero series continuing with Skybound and Larry, and it has been really, really compelling. We had obviously Silent Missions, little subset of issues was really cool. We've had obviously the kind of ongoing saga between all the different factions, Cobra, Serpentor, Khan, who's now obliterated, but not completely. We've got obviously Cobra Commander, Destro and the Iron Grenadiers, Revanche. It's all the factions are kicking off, and G.I. Joe are in the middle of it all. And it's just been a bit of a romp, actually. I want to kind of like call out some of my favorite parts or my kind of moments, and I will say that in terms of A Real American Hero, I don't think we're doing that first, but I'll come back to that. In terms of Real American Hero, there was some really good kind of standalone issues, and I think the ones where the kind of were just very mission specific were more interesting to me. Like the recent one, was it 322? I think it was 322, where you've got the kind of Arctic and desert missions going on simultaneously. I love that issue so much. The silent missions as well were really good. I really enjoyed those. But yeah, in any case, let's start though first with the Transformers, because we'll kick into Energon Universe, right? And you're all going, what? But yeah, Energon Universe, and obviously the way that Skybound have intricately woven Transformers, G.I. Joe, Void Rivals, and Mask technically as well into this kind of like ongoing storyline across 3 different books has been really, really good. Really good. And I've just been so excited to pick up the latest issue of all of these issues, Transformers, Void Rivals, and of course G.I. Joe, and hopefully Mask in the future. But yeah, and it's just been so good. And these are a couple of the covers that I've kind of enjoyed personally. We've got On the left-hand side, we've got Filia Bratukin and Rex Locus variant cover, which is just chock full of homages and little Easter eggs, and it's crazy. Like I was going to zoom in on it and have like lots of little, close-ups of everything going on, but to be honest, it's just go and check this out online and check it out for yourself, because there is a ton of cute homage in there and little Easter eggs. And it is one of those covers that it's I think for some people they prefer the covers not to be so busy, but there's something, and again, like I love panels like this as well, in art kind of panels where you've got like tons of stuff just compressed into like a small space, and loads and loads of kind of like Where's Waldo, or what's the other thing I was thinking of the other day? What was that oh damn, there was a really good comic ages ago, like way back in the day, that came out that's that sort of style where everything's really small but like packed into every single panel. It's famous for that sort of style as well, and damn it, can I think of it off the top of my head? No. It'll come to me, or someone will mention it in the comments. But anyway, I can't even, it's like a dystopian future sort of, I want to say, like, it looks like Japan as well in the actual in the series. It's hard boiled. Jamie Lynn Parks, thank you so much for coming through with hard boiled. Yes, it was hard boiled that I was trying to think of. I remember picking that up way after the fact that it came out. Like I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s actually when I first read it. And I picked it up in a trade paperback and just, I was like, wow, how have I not seen this earlier in life? So yeah, that kind of style I've always kind of enjoyed. Anyway, so there's that cover 18, or one of the variant covers, cover D, for issue 18, that I really loved. And of course you've got Devastator and who is that? Is that friggin', is that Menasor? Can't remember who that is. Anyway, I can't remember who it is on the cover, and it's too far away for me to look at. Anyway, I love that. Really cool. And one of my favorite covers from the Transformers series so far. The other one, I kind of, because I'm a bit of a G1 fan, this came out recently, actually, issue 25, but I like this David Nakayama cover just because of the G1 vibes. You've got kind of a very classic Optimus Prime in the background, sort of like phased out, but sort of like in the clouds, very Lion King style there going on. And then of course the G1 styled kind of Autobots with Prime and his trailer, Trailbreaker. You've got why am I forgetting all of the names of all the characters all of a sudden? Anyway, you've got like very G1 styled kind of vibes going on, and I really love that. When it comes to Transformers, I'm very much G1 at heart, and I like the cleanliness of it. I like the kind of like, I don't know, it just evokes that cartoon, the rollout sort of vibe, from like episode 1 basically. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that Nakayama cover as well. So very, very, very cool. Anyway, in terms of the Transformers comics themselves, there have been some really interesting kind of developments that have kind of gone on throughout that kind of run. If you're not reading it, we've had all sorts of different sort of kind of like hit points. You've got like Megatron and Prime basically clashing, Megatron being almost literally destroyed, but like, not quite. Prime utilizing Megatron's arm for a period of time, which actually started to infect Prime himself. So yeah, very, very kind of interesting sort of like storylines running through that, and obviously crossing over every now and again, not in a very obvious way with Joe, but we've had obviously a few sort of elements like General Flag kind of coming into the kind of the series in a big way. Miles Mayhem has kind of cropped up recently, and I must admit I've been more excited about that sort of little period. The last kind of maybe 3 or 4 issues I've been really invested in because of the kind of Miles Mayhem, General Flag sort of like, incorporation, like Optimus Prime dealing with Flag, and then you see General Flag being this very, I don't know, like it's not, everything is not as it seems, I would say. Like, he's not just a good guy, but he's not a bad guy by the looks of it. There's manipulation going on though, so it's very interesting to see what's going on there. And maybe he's just being that way to protect the Earth. Who knows? But we'll find out eventually, I imagine. He just got in a fight with Miles Mayhem though, which was pretty cool. And he rolled back the years by basically, making him look like a fool. And Miles Mayhem had to basically run off with his tail between his legs. But anyway, so that obviously is going to lead to some sort of revenge, no doubt. But all of that said, I'm really excited to see how Masks are incorporated more. It looks like they're going to be very prominent in the Transformers particular issues as well, which is really cool, and makes me want to kind of, read all about it in the Transformers comics. We've got the big kind of issue coming up soon, actually. Was it 19 and 20, where Prime meets Duke, and we get the sort of full-on kind of G.I. Joe collaboration coming together, which is going to be interesting because obviously Duke harbors feelings about these giant Transformers. He doesn't know the difference between Autobots and Decepticons right now, even though there's one in their midst, I would say, in Hound, that he's not unaware of at the moment. But yeah, and of course Duke is busy with Cobra Commander and the Dreadnoks, isn't he? Or they just got rescued, but they're just going after Cobra Commander to try and basically capture him and interrogate him. But yeah, anyway, that is the Transformers, and those are two of my favorite covers from Transformers so far. But there have been so many, and I was trawling through them the other day, like literally every single cover, just going, like kind of going, oh no, this is my favorite. Oh no, I prefer this one. And eventually these two kind of stood out to me the most. So I would have to say, yeah, these are my two bangers of the year in terms of the covers. Right then, we also have Void Rivals, which has been, again, probably my kind of like, I was really shocked at how much I enjoyed Void Rivals, and I think a lot of it's got the heavy Transformers collaboration going on. So you've got Skuxoid in there, and you've got the Quintessons. Now the Quintesson War is kicking off, and of course we have Cobra La, heavily invested into Void Rivals as a series. Pythona is in space with the Royal Guard, and they are basically in the middle of this sort of like Quintesson versus the Void Rivals sort of factions war that's about to kick off. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed pretty much every cover that we've had of Pythona. I really enjoyed these particular covers, which, again, I don't actually know who did these covers art wise. I did actually I was going to look this up and then I completely forgot. But anyway, love these two particular covers with Skuxoid and Pythona, sort of like two different like angles of the same sort of storyline here. But one of the reasons I love the one on the left is just the angle, the color. Obviously Pythona in the background, the nails are out, she's about to attack, and she's like the hood's down as well, so there's a lot going on. Very beautifully kind of like proportioned, and like what's the word, kind of like the way it's like laid out is just really, really top quality. And I love there's a lot of interesting background going on. You've got Royal Guards scattered all over the place. I've obviously kind of fallen to whoever they're fighting at the moment. Could be Skuxoid, it could be something else going on. And Python is sneaking up behind him. And then the other cover is of the same issue 16, and has almost it's almost like a narrative running through it, where he then realizes that Python is about to attack, spins around and fires. The hood comes on, and she's like, I don't know, just flying at him. And that one looks really cool. It really gives me the kind of movie vibes. It feels like they've taken that particular Pythona image straight off that part in the movie where she's running through, like at the camera, through the hallways of the Terradrome, and she goes like into one, and then you see her running away from the other, like kind of like that classic flip camera sort of look. Bobby Wold says Void Rivals is not bad, but it's a very slow moving story. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, Bobby, mainly because I quite like the building of the universe a little bit. Right, like we kind of got thrown into it right at the beginning. We had the two kind of like and protagonists sort of meet for the first time under kind of very serious situation. They were kind of deserted on a planet without a way of getting off, and they had to work together and all that kind of stuff, and you get that sort of like dynamic building. You understand what the world is about with the Void Rivals, what the factions are and all that kind of stuff. And then you get that sort of moment where they realize that they're being lied to, and they see each other and they're both exactly the same in they've been told that they're like these hideous creatures by each propaganda that's been like thrown at them, whatever side they're on. And you end up sort of like, I don't know, I thought it was really cool. And there were moments that were rapid, like the kind of the way they had to then keep, basically stay away, keep away. They were being tracked and chased. They were trying to get back to the planet as well to kind of like effectively reveal what they'd found out. They bump into the Transformers. You got like Springer showing up, Hot Rod. It was, I don't know, it was just like I thought it was moving pretty fast. I would say at the moment we're definitely in a space where they're building to this Quintesson war, and I think that's why it's sort of slowed down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say I personally don't think it's slow moving as such, as they've probably hit a lull at the moment leading into the war. But I get what you're saying totally. Shelf Present says Void Rivals has been such a great surprise. Clutch has been a real standout, and I love that they're giving him such a big role, says Shelf Presence. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Clutch has been pretty prominent, hasn't he, in the Energon universe? Not in Void Rivals, but in G.I. Joe, for the main one for G.I. Joe. One day I'll pick these up, says Blitz. Hey, trade paperbacks are coming out. So, if you want to get in on it, obviously, probably got a better opportunity now. And the trades were on sale through Amazon last week, says Shelf Presence. I'm not sure if they still are, but anyway, love the Void Rivals series. And in terms of covers, I picked these two out because they're my two favorite sort of Pythona related ones. But that one very recently with her close up of her face, that's actually coming out in 2026. So I wanted to kind of keep this 2025, for not just like revealed covers of 2025, but actually like favorite covers of comics that have actually come out. So that's what I was trying to do with this particular section. Anyway, that's Void Rivals for you. And of course, we get into G.I. Joe, which obviously is the main, it's the main one for me in the Energon universe. And what's interesting though is that my favorite issues have been the sort of standalone side missions where you're not necessarily having the crossover with everything else. You're not having the kind of arc where Duke is doing is following the Transformers trail sort of thing and all that stuff. I like these sort of standalone, specifically the Night Force ones, and this issue 12 was one of my favorites. I love this issue so much. I thought this was an absolute banger. And this was obviously getting Shooter into the Night Force team, rescuing her from a Barovian prison facility. Although it turns out she didn't need rescuing. She was in there on purpose, and obviously had a job to do, and she still completed that job despite being whisked away by Flint J and Beachhead. But really good issue, and probably my two favorite covers of the run so far are both from this Shooter kind of like issue. And you've got the Kale Ngu cover, which has the sort of classic trope of a like the file and spread out all over the table with like they're briefing just before they're going into the mission. They're looking at the pictures before, like in the file, before they getting ready, putting the ammo in. They're in their safe house before they kind of like start the go into the mission sort of situation. And that's a trope that we've seen so many times. We've seen it with GI Joe a million times, which I never get tired of. They always look really good. And these particular connecting covers that Kale's been doing have just been phenomenal. And like, what I would love at the end of all this is to have all those connecting covers together. Problem is, it's really hard to get specific covers unless your comic store is really good at it, like getting those kind of variants for you. In any case, cover C, probably my favorite cover so far from GI Joe. I just love how she looks. She looks on the cover in her picture, and like in that sort of trope that I've just become an absolute sucker for. And then, of course, we've got the cover B by Andrea Milano, and I will say that I think this is a close second, though, because this is a dope cover. She's in the trees. She's in sniper mode. She's kind of like zeroing in on the target. I don't know. I just think it's really cool, and the lighting's really effective. It's just a really beautiful cover, and it's got a similar vibe, actually, similar kind of like dark Night Force at the end of the day vibe. So really into these particular covers and really into this issue as well. But yeah, in terms of the Energon universe, I have not. There hasn't been one moment where I've kind of been like, like every issue, I've just been like, oh, I need more. I need more. Yeah. Robert H says, I've fallen so far behind on Energon Universe. I've been getting some of the trades recently, and I probably wouldn't have fallen off so far if the Transformers book was better. I haven't even got to the Joe series. That's a shame to hear that, Robert. Inconsiderate Prime says, have Skybound released compendiums for the new G.I. Joe or Void Rivals comics yet? Got the Transformers one, which was issues 1 to 12. I'm so confused by it all. They've done kind of like mini trade. Yeah, the book one for G.I. Joe was out very recently. So they've done it for G.I. Joe, the ongoing G.I. Joe series, like 1 to, I imagine the same, probably 1 to 12. I don't know if they've done it for Void Rivals yet. They might have done, but I haven't seen that yet. But maybe Void Rivals, they haven't done that yet. Chris G says, just had to stop by and say thank you, Chris, for all you do for the Joe community. Happy New Year. Thank you very much, Chris G. And Happy New Year to you as well. So anyway, that's my... oh, they have done it. Thank you, Jedi Ben. They have done Void Rivals as well. Brilliant. So yeah, that's probably my favorite issue and my favorite covers of the G.I. Joe series. But I didn't want to leave it there because obviously we're doing a Real American Hero as well. And like I mentioned before, issue 322 was probably my favorite issue of 2025. Yes, it had Lightfoot in it, of course, but it also had this sort of like simultaneous Arctic and desert mission happening at the same time. That's what simultaneous means. And it was, it was just really, really fun. It was really like, cool to see like characters that you don't necessarily see every issue kind of brought into it. Just loved that. And of course, Lightfoot was in it. So yeah, that made me very happy. So yeah, 322, probably my issue of the year for a Real American Hero. And also in terms of covers, 322's is not bad either, with the sort of Arctic team kind of like coming out of the snow and everything. I just love it. You can sort of see and feel them emerging from the snow a little bit. And, I don't know. I love, there's so much about this that I love. The kind of breath coming out of the mouth there. I don't know. There's something very, very cool about it. So yeah, that's Andy Kubert and Laura Martin, of course, and again the same team produced this one for 323, which was another one that I was really impressed with. Obviously you've got Cobra Commander there, but it's the fact that not only is he in front of a load of characters, but they've done it Andy Kubert has drawn it in such a way that makes it really dynamic, really interesting. Even though technically Cobra Commander's got his back to us, you can still see most of him from the front. So, and the cape and the way it's moving creates these kind of little negative spaces that you can kind of fit characters in, in the background, like, so you can see them. Obviously, you've got the twins there, which I really like the fact that his scepter also sort of like cuts between them a little bit. Like that could even have been improved to the point where the scepter could have been even more, like angled a little bit closer to the left-hand side so that it kind of cut right between the two of them. But it also kind of looks very natural as well. So it's like almost like if you took a picture, you'd be really impressed and happy with how it turned out, that you got all those faces in those spots, you know. So it's, yeah, it's still really really cool. But I know I love the layout. I love the way that Andy Kubert's done that. And again, the color work from Laura Martin's phenomenal. So yeah, I would say these are probably my two favorite A Real American Hero covers. And they kind of came very recently, right towards the end of the year. But there's been so many, like genuinely so many covers from all of these issues. And you know, my kind of choices would probably change if given another hour to think about it as well. And I think I actually added a few more. No, I took them out. So the reason I took them out was because one of the covers, yes, that was what it was. One of the covers isn't coming out until 2026. 2026. What am I? What am I doing? 2026, and it is a Steve Beach Gears of Joe cover, and it's the Destro and the Despoiler cover, and it's absolutely phenomenal. You can check that out. Just Google Gears of Joe, Steve Beach, Destro or something. But yeah, you'll see it's an absolute beauty of a cover. The Despoiler looks cool, Destro looks cool, and it's again those two 100%. No notes. Yes, you think of Destro, you think of the Despoiler. So that's fine. That's totally cool. And it's Iron Grenadier's Destro, so that makes it even better. Anyway, that isn't everything, though, from Skybound, technically. No. Another big news story popped up in the year, which you may or may not remember. We've talked about it since. And that's that the Energon universe could be getting an animated series. They're certainly trying very hard to make that so. So Deadline reported that an Energon universe animated series is happening. Robert Kirkman is, of course, the one behind, trying to get it shopped to. We think like the best option at the moment, or the most obvious one, would be Amazon, because obviously that's where they have Invincible, and with Invincible being such a an absolute juggernaut of a sort of show, it kind of makes you very confident that not only could they do an animated series, but also do it well, and do it to a successful level as well. A successful level. Now, the other person that you can see on the screen is Joe Henderson, and he is obviously he's been kind of attached to write this particular Energon Universe series. Now, he is, I suppose, most famous for, well, you could even say that, but he did a lot of work on, he did some really good work on Lucifer, which I was really into that show, very much into that show. And so he kind of worked on that. He's worked on like loads of other stuff as well, but that was one that kind of stood out in his kind of like blurb on the actual Deadline interview, Deadline article, I should say. The other stuff he's done is White Collar and Almost Human, which again, really good shows. White Collar, I was addicted to, and obviously it's over now. It's completed its run, but that was a really good show. I loved that. Again, bit of a guilty pleasure. And I'm not saying that really transfers to the Energon universe, but what it does say about Joe Henderson is just his quality in being able to do entertaining, series based episodic shows. So there you go. So anyway, this is still in that sort of pitching phase at the moment. We're not looking at anything kind of like confirmed, other than they are 100% looking to do an animated series for the Energon universe. So yeah. And also the other thing to throw into this one is that it would be a more adult themed show. So like in the same sort of way that they've done Invincible, which obviously was adult themed anyway. But the Energon universe, if you've been reading the issues, it's not like, it's violent. when it needs to be. It's not overly violent, but it's, you know, it's hardcore. So they'd want to kind of like keep that sort of vibe, I would imagine. But the thought of this as an animated series makes me so excited because of just how well they've done the other kind of you know, the actual comics themselves. So yeah, and if it's anything like the comics, which I think it could probably they should probably it should probably keep some of the ongoing themes and arcs and what have you that the comics are doing. um but yeah, but yeah, anyway, amazing stuff. Very excited for this. And like I said, there should be more information later in 2026 regarding this, as in, you know, has anyone picked it up? Like I said, I think Amazon is probably the best bet for that, I would argue to say. But we'll see, won't we? I guess at the end of the day. But fingers crossed on this one. And I think Skybound are a very good company to like be, you know, dealing with this, to be honest. You know, like not kind of you know, like I feel like Hasbro have kind of slipped up a few times. The Micronauts cartoon, which is now available online everywhere, which actually started watching that the other day. It was actually quite fun. I watched the first couple of episodes and actually quite enjoyed it. But yeah, the fact that they just kind of basically canned that and now it's available just for free on YouTube is a bit mental, isn't it? So I think Skybound sort of like taking the lead on this one. Yeah, is probably best for everyone involved. And with everything that Hasbro are kind of going through at the moment in terms of like, you know, it feels like new depressing news comes out every single week with Hasbro. Either it's layoffs or it's moving to Boston, or it's just, you know, like really weird and awkward stories of, well, I know one of them's a rumor, isn't it? But it seems to be fairly accepted that CEO Chris Cox had the what was it, the archive sort of destroyed. I mean, or a lot of the archive, I would say. We'll have to get a little bit more, you know, I kind of feel like we need more information on that one before we kind of, you know, before any reports are made on it. But like that's the rumor going around, isn't it? That some of the archive has been kind of wiped out, which is just the most devastating. And by wiped out, I really hope a lot of the employees just kind of put it under the jumper and left that day, because it, like, I would prefer it to have been taken in that way and at least someone has it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just destroyed. And I don't know, like, I don't know how, if that has happened, I don't know how much it would have been like, oh no, we have to ensure that this stuff is destroyed. Like, you know, oh man, it makes me feel sick to my stomach. The thought of all that history, you know, like a lot of stuff that's just never ever going to be, you know, replicated. Anyway, yeah, there's been a few rumors about that kind of doing the rounds. So sad times if that is the case. But in any case, more positive. Let's focus on EU animated series. That's Energon Universe, and yeah, hoping it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait for more information to come out about it. Now, that's all the comics and Skybound related news for the year that I wanted to talk about. Let's get into some of the kind of the next elements of the year in review. We're going to be looking at things like Hiya Toys, and what was the other one we're going to be looking at? Super 7 and Classified and all that kind of good stuff. We're going to basically talk through that next. But there is one other thing, one other big story that happened this year. We'll talk about that first. But I've got to do an explosion and move on. So let's do it. There you go. So here we are, year in review 2025. And this is, I kind of wanted to do this in different segments, but I thought, no, the weeklies are as good a place as any to get my thoughts of 2025 across. You may notice on this particular image a cheeky little sneaky teaser on the right hand side. Yes, because like earlier in the year, and before we did our brand sort of redesign, a kind of rebranding, so that I left it as it was, the news burst branding as it was back in the day. With like we're going back a little while, obviously. I think it was pre Yojo June, wasn't it? That we changed the branding. It was kind of around that June time, I think, that we rebranded everything. But in any case, yes, Atomic Arcade teased that Snake Eyes image, and well, two images actually of Snake Eyes. This was the first one, obviously the sort of kind of like holding the submachine gun. You've got the kind of like gauntlet, which has the kind of decorative kind of like design on it, very much like version 4 sort of Snake Eyes vibes there. Not the last time version 4 Snake Eyes comes up today, spoiler alert. And then of course you've got some really interesting kind of design elements going on as well, possible side cape, or just like a hoodie, or just a piece of clothing or material. We'll have to see as that goes on, but it does have that sort of side cape vibe. You got a bit of rope as well, or sort of like cord, and you've got some like, you know, elements that you can kind of see they've maybe taken a little bit of inspiration from that sort of deluxe Snake Eyes classified design, and maybe even the Retaliation Snake Eyes design as well, because that there's a lot of sort of like texture and like what do you call it? Like not armor, but sort of like, yeah, I suppose it is armor, like kind of like just clothing and secondaries, I suppose the word is, sort of design inspiration. But anyway, this was a really interesting shot and a very cool sort of like look at what Snake Eyes, you know, this redesign could look like. They also threw this shot in with his sword, bloody sword. And obviously one of the things about this particular game that's kind of been in development for a while, but we knew this was going to be the case. We knew it wasn't going to be, we'll have this the next year. This was going to be a multi-year sort of kind of project. The only concern is, have Hasbro dropped that, or is this something that they want to go in more of a direction with Chris Cox and CEO of Hasbro now? And my thought process on it is that they want to go in this direction. So this is probably something that you can expect to see in the next couple of years, I would say. Maybe 2027. But in 2026, could we see more news about this, more information? I hope so, is the answer to that question, because there isn't an actual yes or no, is there? The way things are going, who knows? They may have had to scrap it. I don't know. But the whole point here is that this was revealed in 2025, and we got a little bit of a glimpse at what we could expect with this Snake Eyes game and character design. What's really cool is on the helmet or the head, almost like little bat kind of ears, you know, maybe like a kind of Alley Viper style vibe, maybe like I don't know, maybe it's just like the visor, the back of the visor, new design of the visor, maybe it's like a mask, who knows? But I'm very excited to see what they do with this Snake Eyes design. And I think we're definitely due for another image, another teaser, maybe some gameplay footage, which would be a little bit of a stretch, I think, at this point. But at least something, maybe a trailer, which again, I think if it was coming out in 2027, and that's really just a guess, it could be 28 at this point. Do you know what I mean? With the way that these particular AAA games like have to be like developed, and there's so much goes into them. Anyway, anywhosen, yeah, I wonder if we're going to. I mean, you might get a trailer in 2026. You might get a trailer in 2026, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the game anytime soon. Look at GTA 6 and many other games in the past that have you know, teased their trailer at like one of the game conventions, and then, you know, 4 or 5 years later we're still waiting for it. So yeah, who knows? But I just wanted to make a very clear point that I was very excited when this came out, the news of it. We've been following that Atomic Arcade sort of thing for a while. I still am trying to get a little bit of insight, aka interviews with the creators at Atomic Arcade. That will be something I'm aiming to get done in 2026 for sure. Yeah. And also, bit of good, cool news. We're going to be at Toy Fair this year, so very excited to do Toy Fair again. And obviously see the whole Hasbro situation with classified and what have you. So that is going to be a really fun kind of like boots on the ground, more videos, go live that night at the hotel vibe, you know, what I've done in the past. So I'm very excited to see what they've got planned for that. But anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there as a 2026 look forward to. Dave John Mellor says, Happy New Year, Chris. Thanks for promoting the Action Force books. They're a great read. No problem, Dave. Thank you very much for enjoying them. They're absolutely incredible, those books. No doubt there'll be a commercial for it in the middle of the episode as well. Anyway, yeah, a lot of people talking about the possibility that archive is gone at Hasbro. Again, not confirmed yet. It's just one of those rumors that seems to have kind of picked up a lot of steam. But yeah, again, kind of like, if it is true, devastating. And if it isn't, then hopefully it isn't, and hopefully it's not as bad as we're hearing. But anyway, we'll move on from that for now. Anyway, yes, so there you go. Atomic Arcade teasing Snake Eyes, the AAA game that they are developing, of course, still developing. Obviously, it's a AAA game. These things take years, and hopefully we'll see more about it in 2026. Next up, and we have, I'm going to do an explosion because why not? Might as well separate everything. Yeah, we're talking Hiya Toys now. So, yes, I've added, I just had a drink of water and got it all over my face. I did add Master of Disguise Zartan to the group. I cheated as well because I couldn't be bothered to do sort of like another, like move everyone over again. And this is going to have to be one of those things where I have to like 3-segment it or something. But in any case, there's Zartan. He's doubled up on his section on the left-hand side there. You got regular Zartan and you've got Master of Disguise Zartan underneath. Now, this year, Hiya revealed 8 new figures, starting with Shipwreck. We also got Bazooka. We got Outback, the Crimson Viper. We got the Range Viper. We got the Alley Viper. We got Gung Ho Marine version. And we got Master of Disguise Zartan. So Hiya Toys have been churning them out over this particular in 2025. And again, it felt like, I would say at the start of the year, because I don't think we saw one until like, I want to say April. I think it was April, the first one we saw in 2025. And like there was these moments where they just reveal like 3 at a time in like a couple of weeks. And then, you know, you're just expecting one every week. And yeah, but now we're at 33 figures for Hiya Toys, and it's only been going for a couple of years, which is pretty impressive. Now, in terms of what we've had delivered, it's a lot less, of course, yes, but at least we got into that kind of, we got out of that situation where we were waiting like over a year or about a year before we started seeing some movement on a lot of these figures being in hand. And now we've definitely got quite a good chunk of them, and certainly not half, but a good chunk of them are in hand now. So that is obviously a bonus, but there's still a lot more to come. So, you know, you're kind of thinking, you know, is it going to be another year of Hiya Toys revealing G.I. Joe stuff? Is it going to keep going? It looks like it, you know, they're doing well enough to keep doing these. So I assume we're going to see more in 2026. The question is, though, for you guys, who do you want to see in 2026? Out of all of these, I just want to say my favorites reveals were definitely Outback, the Range Viper, and I will throw in Alley Viper too, because I love the fact that we got, with the Alley Viper, we got that sort of like original version from the classified designs that, again, we had the I think when we talked about it, I showed you guys the original input for the Alley Viper, which changed beyond all recognition by the end of you know, by the time we got it in hand. But I love the fact that Hiya have been focusing on those early input designs, early card art deco versions. In terms of the Storm Shadow, the website and Yakuza tattoo version of that we've really not seen a lot of, other than Hire. A little bit of, you could argue, a movie concept art kind of looked very much like, he had the tattoo, he was sleeveless, he was a bit of that vibe. And then of course the website artwork, the what else did we see him in? Operation Blackout, without the tattoo though. And of course, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, we did see technically a sort of version of that design and figure in the Titan class of figures, when, in the kind of like classified Titan class. Remember that? 2020. Oh my word. It was like 10-inch figures, wasn't it? Or 9.5-inch, I want to say. It was either 9.5 or 10-inch figures. The kind of shampoo bottle that like ones, very little articulation. It's just like the arms, the head, and then everything else is just a statue pretty much. Higher vehicles, says RKW. Yeah, that's a good shout actually. Is that what you're looking forward to, RKW, or what you want? Todd also said that. What if Hire came out with vehicles? Sorry, I missed a few comments there. My apologies. Robert H says, I just hope the Snake Eyes AAA game doesn't pull a Transformers reactive. Yes, same. That's what a little bit of a concern there. But you wonder if Hasbro have got more sort of like invested in doing a game like that. I don't know. We'll have to see, won't we? Yorktown finally was able to find the stream live instead of on replay, making my time in line waiting for the car wash much more fun. That awesome, Yorktown Joe. I'm glad that I'm entertaining you while your car gets caressed and pummeled by soap and suds. Anyway, what if done that one, sorry. Bazooka looking like Jason Kelsey, says Stanley. Yeah, he does a little bit. I haven't got an issue with that. I like Jason Kelsey. Hire vehicles, I don't do hire. I don't hire, but they look great, says Shelf Presence. I would like to see their Dreadnoks designs. There you go. I think that's a really good shout. We've obviously had Zorana and Zartan on multiple versions. We haven't had Xandar yet, have we? That would be an interesting one. I bet they would do Xandar like his classified version, because it's not the same as his original, if that makes sense. Like his version is definitely higher worthy. But yeah, we've got Zorana and we've got 2 Zartans. But yes, in terms of like the Dreadnoks, that is a great shout, and probably a high possibility if they're doing more. Definitely. Oh man, I miss 80s character shampoo bottles, says Scott Skeen. Yeah, me too, actually. There's one in, what movie is it, where like that, I think it's, is it Bazooka? No, I think it is. It's a Bazooka shampoo bottle, isn't it? That shows up in one of the movies. I didn't know about it for the longest time, and then I think Adam Riches sent me a picture of it and went, I can't believe I just noticed this in this movie and haven't noticed it before. Anyway, anywho, obviously my favorite film as a kid was The Boy Who Could Fly. If you haven't seen that and you're a G.I. Joe fan, go watch it. I'm not saying any more. If you're a fan of G.I. Joe, you will probably enjoy that movie, is all I'm saying. Okay. Remember the classified plushies? I saw Scarlet and Roadblock at a Walmart claw machine once. Robert H. I do remember those, but for the life of me, do you know what was really cool? The little G.I. Joe, what are they called? Not bag tags, or backpack clips. Bag clips, I think they were called. And my God, I remember they showed up in a store near work where I was at the time, and I remember freaking out and going over and trying to get and someone else got one for me, which was nice. But I went over there to see if they're there, and they'd all sold out. I was gutted. But I did have, for the longest time, was it Storm Shadow? And then I wore him on my bag for ages, and he just deteriorated in weeks. But they were fun, those little squidgy things. Shelf Presence. Also, am I seeing this right? They haven't done Scarlet. I wonder if they would go with her Resolute design similar to Duke's. Shelf Presence. You mean their classified design? Because Duke hasn't been done either. That'd be kind of cool though, wouldn't it? Scarlet and Duke in sort of Resolute style, but they're probably going to do them in their classified OG style, aren't they? That's probably what they'll end up doing. And it'll be sort of like a proper throwback to those two. Have we had Roadblock? We haven't had Roadblock yet either. And Roadblock's one that they probably would end up doing. Maybe they would do the Cobra Island t-shirt, big beard version as well. You know, I could see that. I could see them pulling those out like further down the line a bit, because we got Gung Ho towards the back end of 2024. I want to say, Kitty said, and you know, what was the other one we had at the back end of 2024? Maybe the Viper, but that wasn't really classified design. That was their own design. But yeah, 2 Gung Ho's. I know it's crazy, isn't it, Robert? Pastor Pro says, boys who fly always need to watch out for snipers. Indeed. I could see a mashup of the CI classified. No, Cobra Island. Sorry, CI, not CL. I could see a mashup of the Cobra Island and OG Roadblock, says Scott. That'd be interesting. Sort of like his head sculpt, but on the sort of version 2, version 1 classified kind of, you know what I mean, right? When I say version 2, I mean classic vintage version 2 Roadblock. And when I say classified version 1, it's the same thing, basically, the kind of version 2. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So you're thinking like that head sculpt on that version 2 style aesthetic? Or are you thinking I don't know. That's an interesting one, actually. Shelf Present says, I guess I'm having a Mandela effect. I thought I saw Duke in a Resolute design coming from them. No, never happened. That's a Mandela effect that's happened to you and you only, Shelf Presents, I believe. Scott says, yeah, bearded bandana head on the first body. Interesting. That would be kind of fun, actually. Although, I could see them doing both. It's higher at the end of the day. We've got multiples of the same character already. Gung Ho is a great example of that. But obviously 2 different Vipers. I know it's redecos is slightly different. 2 different Flints. I know it's redecos again. It's more than technically a redeco with the 2 Zartans as well, because there's more accessories piled into that one. So I could definitely see them doing those 2 different versions of Roadblock for sure. Faux show. Anyway, that's Hiya Toys. And yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about with Hiya Toys. Let's move on to, you can get the explosion ready, Super 7. Right then, so Super 7 had a pretty stellar kind of G.I. Joe year. Now, with the sort of like making way, and obviously we did an interview with Brian Flynn very recently, which you can go check out on our channel. I posted that over the holiday period. Michael Taylor says, Chris, when is Hiya going to start doing vehicles? I don't actually know in terms of the G.I. Joe vehicles sort of side of that, Michael, because I think it's something they could definitely pull off. They've done Kitty said they've done vehicles in other lines before, so I don't think it's way beyond the realms of possibility. The only thing is there's a lot of GI Joe vehicles out there, so they'd it'd be weird for them to do. They'd have to do sort of like the classified versions of vehicles, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they don't have the vehicle, maybe don't have the license to do vehicles, or maybe they're just doing figures because that's something they can manage with this particular license. We'll see. But who knows? Maybe 2026 is the year for Hiya vehicles. Anyway, I don't mean hire like rentals. I mean HIYA vehicles. Now, Super 7 had a bit of a stellar year with G.I. Joe. Now, even though Ultimates is sort of taking a bit of a back seat, and Reaction Plus has come to the forefront now, it's given me a little bit of a fun top 10 to kind of break down for you guys. So here is my top 10 Super 7 Reaction Plus figures of the year, starting at number 10, of course, with Raymar. Now, this particular figure, one of the reasons I love, well, you'll actually notice that entire top 10 is all animated related. And that's mainly due to the fact that most of the figures they've released and revealed and put out there are animation related, either movie or standard Sunbow cartoon homages. We've had occasional comic, and other, well, just comic nods, but for the most part, we are talking, your Fluffies, your Raymars, your Snake Eyes, your Cobra Commander Arctics, your Wild Bills is cartoon Wild Bill, Zartan Cold Slither is the cartoon Cold Slither, Once a Man, Royal Guard, yada yada. Every single one so far, with the exception of the Battle Android Trooper, and of course your Tiger Force and Python Patrol redecos, have effectively been, it's all been cartoon related. So my entire top 10 is cartoon heavy, but I love the animated series, and it's one of the things that I have continued to enjoy and love, to this day. I think yesterday, actually, I was watching the cartoon. So, and like, purposefully put it on my phone and watched an entire episode. So when I see certain characters who never had any love in the past all of a sudden get a figure, it elevates them to a much higher degree. Raymar is a figure that I don't think many people necessarily needed or like wanted, but when Super 7 did him and put him out there, I certainly personally was one that I was one that was like, yeah, this is cool. I love the fact that it's a bigger figure. And obviously Raymar in the cartoon, there's a screenshot where he's standing next to Duke, and the size comparison is ridiculous, and it's really inconsistent actually throughout the episode or multiple episodes, but it's just funny. Or it's one of those things where they're never going to get the scale correct because it doesn't really exist properly in the cartoon either. But I like the fact that it's a bigger figure and he does dwarf the other figures as well. I think they absolutely nailed it. And I'm 100%. This is my number 10 for the year for Reaction Plus. Really awesome little details on him as well. It's just a giant Conan in it at the end of the day. Conan, He-Man, giant sort of vibe. But very cool. And yeah, so he's my number 10. You'll start to see the pattern emerging as we go through them. At number 9, we have Mara. Now, Mara was one actually that really surprised me, because when I saw that she was actually coming in the line, I was, when that list got leaked, the distributor list got leaked. I don't know why I'm doing that. It was a distributor leak. I was a little bit sort of like, okay, it'll probably just be Mara from the cartoon. I can dig it. I can vibe with that. And then actually got the figure, and it's just something really cool about that helmet, gas tank, the oxygen tank and all that kind of stuff as well. I've carded these. I have these are actually open because I did an unboxing, but I've managed to, I love how I secure the cards now. I do it ever so carefully, and I don't rip it off all the way, and it allows me to keep stuff sort of carded a little bit, which I know is weird. I mean, whatever. But anyway, this is a really cool figure. I love the artwork on this one. Really, really awesome for Mara. She looks fantastic on that artwork. And again, sort of like the vibe of being underwater, got the kind of bubbles, kind of like there, a bit of a close up on the little mini screen there. You can see it on the main screen though, it's just fine. And I love the fact they included the helmet. And I really like the fact that it splits in half and you can kind of like encase a head in it, and then you can put the backpack on. It's very simple, easy to kind of operate, and really like it a lot. A couple of things I really like, I want to kind of point out as well, is that there's a lot of talk about in the vintage line, would they have done this, would they have done that. I would probably argue that the helmet is probably not something that would even have been incorporated, or if it was incorporated, it probably would have been one that just plopped on top of the head. They would have made the head probably a little bit smaller. The hair is probably like the way it is because the helmet needs to kind of go over the head. So obviously there's a bit of a balance going on there, but I would say that I think the figure hair needs to be bigger to match her much kind of, bigger, more flowy sort of hair, flowy Kardashian. Anyway, I love it, and I thought it was really cool. I love the kind of like purple skin. I thought it would have been pretty neat if they'd have given her some sort of like color change feature. Not that she really has that, but like that could have been kind of fun. You know, maybe water based color change feature, which again, you know, if you were going to display her and she wasn't purple, would have been weird. But anyway, I really like this figure, and I was really surprised by how much I loved it. And again, a cheeky homage to the cartoon, um, and one that is not a major character, but always seems to come up in comments. Always. Same Time Toy says they nailed it with Raymar. I agree on that one. Sunbow is the jam, says Paisano 777. Sunbow is my church, says Same Time Toys. Scott says Raymar is anywhere from 6'6" to 12 foot in the show. I know. Pass says I had foot surgery back in November, so I missed the chance to go hunt the Tiger Force Duke and Python Patrol Serpentor. That's my only complaint for the Super 7 Joes, but I love all the cool stuff they're doing. First of all, sorry about your foot surgery, and I don't mean to rub it in, but here's Serpentor, Python Patrol. He's not in my list though, unfortunately. Now, as much as I love the Serpentor figure. I think they did a really good job with the sort of reissue of that Serpentor figure, and this Python Patrol one is kind of a dope little colorway. I kind of like it. I think it's kind of interesting and a little bit different to the other Python Patrol because he is, you know, the Cobra Emperor. So there's a little bit more sort of like fancy vibe going on there with the black and like keeping it very like, I would say, not as ridiculously overwhelming as some of the other decos. But I know I quite like the understated sort of majesty of his Python Patrol design, but it's not really a great deal different to Serpentor, the figure, you know, like the actual Serpentor figure. So it wasn't really something that, you know, I kind of was really vibing with necessarily, but Raymar and Mara 100%. So a couple of like very, very brief cartoon appearances get in my top 10 here for these two. So great stuff. Now at number 8, you might think, wow, Pythona's low on that list. And I think more so because of the sort of like underwhelming response to Pythona more so than anything else, and kind of made me a little bit depressed because like we had this conversation with the guys on the specials. So I've already talked about this with Adam and with Pat, who weren't like totally over the moon with the Pythona figure. And I don't know, I'm kind of like, first off, I'm just really excited that Pythona exists officially as an O-ring figure. I love the fact she came with the gem of that size. Genius. You know, to give her one of what could be many accessories throughout that movie, a gem of that size probably answers that question for everybody, doesn't it? So that was really cool. But yeah, like, I think there was that thing of, you know, I don't know what more could have been done. Maybe like, yeah, like Carla says, she's a little simplistic. I think for me, it's more what it represents than the actual figure itself, which you might argue that's not really a reason to have her in there, but it does go towards that. One of them is like one of these kind of situations, one of these things for me is that nostalgia, but also that missing nostalgia, that stuff that you needed to have back when you were a kid that you didn't have. And now that you have it, it sort of like fills like a, you know, ticks a box, or it kind of scratches an itch, shall we say. I won't say fills a gap, Kitty said, even though I just did. I love the artwork on this one as well. I think that's an absolute beauty from Jason Edmiston on the card art. But in terms of like the figure, again, I think she's kind of cool, and you know, very much like the model for the animated movie. And yeah, I like, there could have been, they could have done a lot of different things with her to make her more, I don't know, premium or deluxe, or, you know, kind of given her an even cooler sort of like soft goods with the hood and all that kind of jazz. But then you're getting into way more sort of not really vintage vibes, and there's a balance that they are trying to walk, even if they're doing a little bit extra here and there. There's definitely a balance to walk here of trying to get like a vintage aesthetic. So Pythona is my number 8, and again, she represents something that just was missing for a long time in GI Joe, and I really like her. The head sculpt's really cool. I love it. I love that. The, you know, the obviously the makeup and the deco and everything. But there you go. Pythona is my number 8. Now at number 7 is Cold Slither Zartan. which I don't have anywhere near me at the moment, but he usually is on my desk. You failed me, Zartan. But this was another, obviously, very important episode of the cartoon when I was a kid. Cold Slither was one we got on VHS multiple times, actually, and it has a very like soft spot in my heart, because not only was it released on VHS twice, but one of the times it was released on VHS, certainly one of the well, it's actually been noted on multiple copies, so I think it was on every copy. They've got the original American audio track running at the same time as the overdubbed UK version. So you have this ever so slightly phased, like, because they're not exactly perfectly lined up either. If they were, it'd just be louder than normal. But in what they've done is they've ever so slightly like phased them. There's this tiny like difference in where the tracks are, like the audio tracks are lined up. So even though they're saying the same things for most of the time, you get this weird sort of, it kind of gives off this, it's hard to explain, but like a metallic sort of, you know, almost like reverb sort of sound, like almost like an echo, but not. It's like a tinny, like you're inside a metal can, is the only way I can really describe it. So you get this really interesting like audio, and I didn't really notice it, weirdly enough, because I never watched that version that came out. It was on so it was like 2 episodes on one tape with a bunch of other cartoons on it as well. So it's like an adventure collection sort of vibe. And what's really interesting about it is the fact that I already had Cold Slither on another VHS tape. So when I came to watch that video, I never watched the Cold Slither episode because I'd watched it multiple times on the other tape. So I never knew about it until going through the episodes and like, you know, like going through, I got them digitized onto DVD and then onto actual digital. So I got them put onto DVDs, and then I got them like put onto you know, like kind of like just for posterity's sake, basically, to make sure that these, because like, no, I think they have also been sort of like curated, you could say, by other people in the past, but I wanted to make sure I had copies of those VHS tapes. So I got all of them, sent them all off to this DVD guy. He sent me back a ton of DVDs. It was amazing. And he also did he replicated the covers. So all the VHS tapes, he literally put the VHS covers, he scanned them and then created DVD covers for them. How amazing is that? So all my DVD covers have got the same artwork front and back as the VHS tapes. Each DVD has like a sticker on it of the you know, like the kind of information of what it is. Now, it's so good. So I was really happy with that process and managing to get them digitized. And that was when I noticed this anomaly. And when I put it out to other people, they were like, holy crap, this is on my version of that tape as well. I think there's only 2 other people that confirmed that for me. But at that point I was like, okay, 3 separate tapes, or like would have been picked up from like multiple different areas of the UK at the time. There's no way, you know, it would have just been one batch. This would have been probably the entire batch of VHS tapes. So not only that, but they say Yo Joe and Full Force at the same time, that kind of thing. So when I say overdubs of VHS, if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, the UK, we had to overdub them because obviously it was known as Action Force in the UK. So we had our Yo Joes changed to Full Forces. We had a lot of American sort of references, sort of like either cut completely or changed a little bit to make sense. And obviously you'd get these like moments where the voice acting would change quite dramatically. They did their best, but it's quite funny if you ever get a chance to check them out. In actual fact, you can go on our channel, a YouTube channel, the one that you're probably on right now, and you can find a video I've done, multiple videos I've done of overdub videos. If you search overdub on our page, you should be able to find them. And we've got like all the Full Forces on there. I've got the Cold Slither, like the song at the end, the Action Force band version. And I'm pretty sure I recorded clips of the one one video with the kind of double track as well. Anyway, yeah, spam replaced references to hamburgers. No, they didn't. That would be hilarious though. But yeah, a lot of the VHS tapes were handpicked specifically to feature characters that we were like, aware of. So like Flints and your Footlooses and your Lady Jays and Snake Eyes and Scarlets and what have you. And kind of like there's some that were kind of avoided because they were too American reference sort of vibes. But yeah, in any case, we got overdubs and it's amazing. And so Zartan here will always have a place in my heart. But this figure's great. The guitar's awesome. He comes with a microphone, which already elevates it from the Cults to the Classified, which we'll be talking about later on as well. But yeah, Zartan, number 7, and I just thought they did a really good job with this figure. He looks great, like he's straight out of the cartoon. And I chose this one over the other 2 exclusives as well. Obviously, we got this version, the Zebra Zartan, which is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, and I'm glad that Adam chose that one as one of his favorite figures. Oh my god, these are tight, aren't they? Kitty said. But I will say that deco, that colorway is glorious. I am a big fan of it, don't get me wrong. But I wanted to put the originator, the OG, the first one in my list for 2025. So there he is. And hopefully we get some of the rest of the band members as well at some point, including their gear. I think it was the only show that I know, Robert H., that had overdubs for G.I. Joe, because it was so obviously, it was changed, quite dramatically. I will say, obviously, Teenage Mutant Hero and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we had Hero Turtles originally, and they did cut out a lot of Michelangelo's nunchucks use because that was deemed too violent. Kids were hurting themselves with nunchucks at the time or whatever, and they wanted to remove the violent ninja element. So Turtles is probably the only other kind of cartoon that I know had that sort of heavy censorship, as well as Joe. I don't know if Transformers suffered the same fate, but I don't think it had as many sort of like kind of I don't think it had that many sort of like references necessarily. Yeah, it was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles in the UK Blitz for the first, I want to say like the first 3 or 4 years. It might even have changed, and the thing is, the movie came out and it was Ninja Turtles. They didn't change that. So like the movie was 90 as well, so it'd only been out for like a year, if that. The movie was came out at the same time as everything else, pretty much around that time. But anyway, that's by the by. At number 6, I've gone for the Fatal Fluffy because I think this is just absolute perfection, taking something off the screen and putting it into action figure form. Again, they got the size right, they got the sculpt right, they got the detail right, they got the personality in the face and everything, and they even got the friggin' whip as well. That sort of electric whip, which is amazing. And I think he got the blaster as well. He got both in the it came with both accessories. So yeah, I think they just absolutely smashed it out of the park with the Fatal Fluffy. And I'm looking forward to maybe something like related to this in Super 7's Reaction Plus line going forward. I'm thinking little baby fluffies as well, so that we can, maybe army build these guys, which I think a lot of people did, and that's why they sold out sort of immediately. But yeah, this is definitely a great figure, and I think probably a lot of people's number ones. I know it was Pat's. I think Pat and Adam had this pretty high up on there. But yeah, either way, the Fatal Fluffy is an absolute beauty. No more really else to say on that one, other than I think this is just they absolutely perfected this particular really. Put the no notes. At number 5, and we're coming back to the movie because obviously that was Pyramid of Darkness, Fatal Fluffy. We're coming back to the movie and we are with Big Lob. And again, this for me this works in 2 different modes actually. Not only is it kind of filling a gap that I don't think the club necessarily really filled with the Big Lob they released in their run, when they had the license and O-ring figure. I think there was a lot lacking on that one. The fact they used was it Mercer version 2's head? I can't remember. No, what head did they use for that big lob? It might have been Mercer, right? Just to get the sort of like hair, in a sense. I can't remember what head they used, but they used a head that just did not make sense for Big Lob. So the fact that we've got a tall figure is great. The fact that he's got like, again, like very, very close to the animation model. And I really like the fact that he's got a removable secondary. I know, again, that kind of came up as a topic of conversation on our specials. If you haven't watched our specials, you can go check them out. The holiday special was where we talked about our top figures of the year. This is where this came up. And our 2026 look forward to sort of vibe with the New Year's Day special, which I always post on New Year's Eve, have you noticed? But anyway, I think this is just great. And yeah, one thing I will say is that the fact that he doesn't come with a grenade is a little bit weird, an actual loose grenade. But then again, you know, maybe like just with a little like loop, like a little what do you call it, pin, so that you could maybe hold it in his hand would have been fine. Something like that would have been great. But yeah. Yes, you did have to redub the UK stuff when Thomas the Tank Engine and Bob the Builder came over. Yes, Robert H. But that was more to just get the accents in there, wasn't it? Torch's flame effect works great on the Fluffy. Thank you, Same Time Toys. I'll have to check that out. He sits on my desk and yells work, says GL425. Yeah, the Fluffy. And now, yes, Same Time Toys. The crowd ain't the only thing that's going bananas. Indeed, the crowd ain't the only thing that's going bananas. Yeah, Big Lob, big fan of this, and again, ticks a box, and you know, kind of fills that nostalgia gap as well for me a little bit. Love it, and I think they executed this beautifully. So great shout for 5. At number 4, back to the movie. Well, not back to the movie. We're still in the movie. It's Once a Man Cobra Commander. Now, a lot of people had mixed feelings about this particular release, but I ruddy loved him. I was so happy with this figure. I thought it was so cool that, you know, we got like, you know, Once Man Cobra Commander across like the board pretty much, didn't we? We got him for Classified, which I say Classified slipped up a little bit by not giving him a ripped lower leg. You know, with like a kind of like mutated left leg, like, but Super 7 gave us that, so well done to them. And the fact obviously he comes with the Spore is a great addition as well, something that obviously he turns him into Once a Man Cobra Commander, or turns him into this snake. Yeah, obviously that makes a lot of sense for them to have that particular accessory. What I think would have been even cooler is if the accessory was open. So if the flaps were kind of flapped open, Kitty said. But maybe that will happen in a future release of something else down the line. Who knows? Anyway, excuse me. Anyway, yeah, it was Mercer version 1 for Big Lob. Thank you, guys. Yeah, the New Year's special was great, says Michelle. Thank you. Thank you very much. Blitz says, wow, I'm learning things tonight. Yeah, you are. Paisano says Classified to fill all these gaps and check all these boxes. Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, so yeah, big fan of Cobra Commander Once a Man. I thought they did a great job on the figure. I really liked it. I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, a big highlight for me of the year. So number 4, there he is. Number 3, and you might be surprised at this one, or you might not if you've ever listened to me talk about these figures in the past. But Arctic Scarlet is a low-key absolute banger for me. Like, I love the detail on this figure. The I should say attention to detail on this figure. I love the skirt piece for the jacket is definitely 1,000% more fun, effective, practical, looks better than what we got with Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander with their sort of, you know, sculpted lower jackets. Now I can understand why they you know, they were kind of maybe testing the waters a little bit, like trying different things out, but I think this is amazing. Is it vintage accurate? No, it's not, but I love this figure and I think she looks great. I love the detail on her. The jacket's amazing. The head sculpt is actually really cool because you've got the sort of like separate goggles with like, you know, the kind of transparent blue sort of visor, which if you tilt it up and look under the goggles, you get that reflection of blue on the actual face as well. It's so cool. So the fact that it's not like it's a piece that's then glued on to give depth rather than removable goggles. But I think that looks really dope. And the little Geiger counter she comes with is so cool as well. So yeah, big fan of the Arctic Scarlet. I just think it just does it's just really cool figure. And she was my number 3 of the year, believe it or not. I just got a lot of satisfied, like, I don't know, got satisfaction out of this particular figure. And again, mass device. So we've gone from the movie now to the mass device. And there's another mass device in my top 3. Spoiler alert, that might give everything away when we look at number 2. But big fan of this figure, and I think they did a great job with it. Joe Barrett says, "Yo, Joe, I hope everyone is doing well. My wife and I just got out of Disneyland, California. Thank you, Chris, for all the work you do." Thank you, Joe. That's very nice of you to say. I hope you enjoyed Disneyland. 44D2 says, "Much better than bathrobe snake eyes." Yeah, I have to agree on that one. I think this is a much better like solution for this kind of like little rubber skirt, and I just think it looks so cool. And obviously you can pose her in loads of, like, it doesn't hinder articulation because of the splits down the side. So I think that's where they should go with the jackets. That said, they've sort of done 2 already. Do they go back and revisit those, or do they leave them and just go forward doing squidgy jacket pieces? I don't know. That's up to them, isn't it, at the end of the day? Now, let's get into my top 2, starting at number 2, and this should like give away what's number 1. At number 2 is Red Glow Snake Eyes. This figure is freaking awesome. So awesome. Now, one of the things I really loved about this particular release, and something that Super 7 do a great job with, is the glow in the dark stuff. Like their glow in the dark, and I said this to Brian on the interview, I said that your glow in the dark product is like, sort of like something they've worked on for years, something they've perfected, I would say. And it kind of, this particular Snake Eyes just gives so many amazing vibes. Obviously, they can't get him in the exact color they need to be at the start to get the red glow. You're sort of sacrificing a little bit of that just to kind of have that red glow be more like effective. The red glow is fantastic. I put it under a regular light bulb for like a minute, and then I just turned the lights off, put it on the desk, and took a picture and a video, and my god, it was vibrant. You can check that out on my unboxing of this wave as well. It was phenomenal. So yeah, I have to say, this particular figure is an absolute banger, and I was just really excited with him. The canisters, obviously a nice touch, in the little pistol is straight out of that cartoon as well. And the artwork, I know it's kind of redone artwork from Jason, but it's a beauty. And also, like, you kind of have sort of the red glow effect Snake Eyes, because he kind of, it's a weird sort of effect, but it's sort of like this kind of like milky kind of Shadow Ninja vibe is sort of like the red glow when it's not dark and it's not actually glowing red, if that makes sense. Sort of like a display, it can kind of look different and look like he's radioactive without necessarily having the red glow, activated. In any case, that is Mr. Snake Eyes at number 2 for the year of Super 7. Goodness. Now, who is my number 1? Does anyone know? Here we go. It is the Cobra La Royal Guard. Again, like, you might be surprised at this, but this was my 100% favorite here. Carlos says, "My red glow Snake Eyes doesn't glow much." Well, literally put it under a bulb for like an exposed bulb for like a minute, and that thing will light the room up with its red. Trust me. But yes, Royal Guard. This doesn't light up, obviously, but it lit my face up. The Royal Guards were those kind of characters in the movie that you were absolutely amazed by. Like the fact these things jump out of the floor, yet like la 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 la, like as they're jumping and flipping and doing all this crazy acrobatic stuff with these massive like weapons, Kitty said, and they're taking like they're beating quick kick up. They take Snake Eyes out. They pull like they just do all of this. They basically just take out the Joe team with ease. And you're just kind of like, who are these guys? These guys are insane. Like, I was blown away as a kid at how dope that scene was. I was always like, just like wow. And I would say the vintage figure, I have a couple of them. I have one, I think I have two loose ones and one carded version. Obviously not as good as Adam's like 300 Royal Guards, basically, or close to that. But the vintage figure, I feel like, was just a little bit lacking in what we saw on the screen. And what I think Super 7 do here is an amazing job of, basically pulling that particular design out and putting it into action figure form. Just absolutely phenomenal. So for me, the Royal Guard is my number one reaction plus of the year. My only note on this one, actually, because again, I love the soft good, I love the figure design, I love the color, the head sculpt's amazing. The weapon, as cool as it is, needs to be fatter. It needs to be even fat. That blade needs to be even bigger. So that's my only note on that one. And it's not even that bad because the blade's still pretty cool. Or like the bone that they have swinging around. Kitty said, in any case, Royal Guard is my number one reaction plus of the year. And again, like this hit the nostalgia buttons pretty hard, and it filled a gap that I didn't necessarily think needed filling until I saw the figure and had it in hand. So yeah, big shout out to Super 7, to Brian Flynn, and to Reaction Plus. Hopefully we see more of this stuff in 2026, which we will. We will see more of this in 2026. He's even said so. Will we see more Ultimates? I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that, like, I was going to throw a sneaky Tiger Force Flint in here, Ultimates Flint, as like one of my choices, but I decided to just make it a Reaction Plus top 10 because there was so many figures they released, and the fact they only released 2 Ultimates, I think maybe 3 for the Mortal, maybe 4 now thinking about with Zartan. I don't know. Maybe I'm going back even further, but there weren't many. In any case, this is what I'm here for. And hopefully we get some of that next year. Now, we are going to get into classified next, but before we do, because that's going to be a bit of a big one, this might be a 2-hour episode, sorry guys, let's get a little message from our sponsor. Yes, make sure you order your Battle Action Force Deluxe Treasure Editions right this second. TotalToyBooks.com in the UK and Europe, Amazon everywhere, and Skeletron.com if you're in the US, of course, as well. Couple of comments before we move into classified series here. I hope they give us a giant Nemesis Enforcer, says Pass. That'd be cool. Michael Taylor asked Chris, who does Globulus first, Hasbro or Super 7? Probably the exact same time, the way things are going with these guys. Big Lobs at the same time, although technically Super 7 did beat them to that. Pythonas around the same time, although Classified beat them to that. So yeah, they're close though, aren't they? They're coming out pretty much around the same time. I would say, let's just say Classified first. Jethro says Red Laser Ultimates as well. Yes, thank you. That was another one that didn't seem to actually get much in the way of distribution, did it? Like, did it even get to people? Like, I feel like that was one of the weirdest releases ever. I really want that Red Laser Ultimate as well. Anyway, G.I. Joe Classified series. Let's switch our modes, and I've had to pack in a ton of honorable mentions here with caveats as well. Okay, so let me go through these before you start jumping down my throat. Grim Viper. I'm throwing that one out there because, one, friggin' love that figure. In hand, it's an absolute beauty of a figure, and I'm really impressed with it. And yes, it is effectively a bit of a kit bash with, a ranged Viper head. Yeah, of course it is. But there's just something very satisfying about it. Now, the other addition to that is that obviously we got the official reveal for that render, which we were absolutely made up about. I'm very excited. So there's going to be, sorry, finally got that bit of hair that was on my hat. There's always going to be a little bit of bias here, but I put it in the honorable mentions list because I didn't, like there was so many releases this year that I would just genuinely, like, from an objective point of view, I just, so much more interesting and better or different or whatever. Like there's a lot going on with my top 10. So I definitely wanted to shout out the Grim Viper though, and also shout out Hasbro, BMAC, the GI Joe team for allowing me to reveal that one. Might be another one of those coming up in the future. Who knows? Kitty said, wink, wink, nod, nod. The other ones obviously are the Claw, for multiple reasons. One, it's rad. It's really wide and long and cool and big, and Kitty said, etc., etc. But it was one of those ones that was, I think a lot of people will wait. We had it revealed, and then we just never got a pre-order for it for the longest time. It just felt like it took so long to actually get a pre-order, and then finally it was here, and we got it, and it's brilliant. It's a really, really good mini vehicle, and I'm well into it. So I wanted to make sure that got a shout out. Then, of course, and actually, this is an image of a retro Televiper, but I actually kind of want to put in retro Cover Girl as well, because I opened that figure up yesterday, and the green shirt trooper, and they are also really, really good. I really like those two figures as well. But for me, it's the retro Televiper that trumps those, because he is phenomenal. Got a few of those, and I absolutely loved the fact they incorporated the visor, comments and text and all that stuff. So that was amazing. So that's again, like that's up there for me as an honorable mention. Could have made it in the top 10 as well, actually, because I have strong feelings with the Televiper. It's one of my favorite Cobra characters of all time. The Ghost Viper as well. What an amazing figure that was. And also with all that stuff in it as well, like all the stuff that you get with it. Again, there's an element here of a lot of reuse, but then there's a lot of new stuff in there too. A lot of cool, interesting additions, like the new head sculpt, and also that freaking supernatural style skull on the Viper helmet as well. Just lovely touches like that. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed the Ghost Viper as well. I think that's a phenomenal figure. So I want that needed a shout out as well. And actually, not finally, because there's another page of honorable mentions. I know it's ridiculous, isn't it? A lot came out, guys. Come on. Now, the Ore Striker is an interesting one. This is the caveat, right? I'm putting this honorable mention in for the Ore Striker with Gridiron Retro Kit and Urban Wheel additions, because that makes this the perfect Ore Striker for me. I love what the ATAC from Fans Hobby. Shout out to Fans Hobby, and friggin' hang on, sorry, I just shout out to Fans Hobby, and who else did we have? Just gone absolutely blank. Gridiron, Fans Hobby. What's the other one that I keep forgetting? I think that's it. Maybe it's just Fans Hobby that are doing Joe vehicles. But yeah, like shout out to those guys, because they churned out some pretty cool products as well. That Air Eagle was phenomenal. The Air Tiger more specifically. So shout out to the Air Tiger. But Gridiron do the most amazing sort of add-on kits and amazing vehicles of their own. The ATAC was amazing for Fans Hobby. That was a really good version of an Ore Striker. And I was very disappointed with the classified Ore Striker. Very disappointed with it. To the point where I looked at the Gridiron image and I was like, I need that. I need the wheels and the retro kit to make it, perfect. And it genuinely was the best thing I did for that Ore Striker. And now I can't get enough of it. So yeah, it's obviously the base of the classified vehicle, but then with the roof cannon, the roof top, the lighting bits on the front, and the wheels of the Gridiron set. So massive shout out to Gridiron, and yeah, it looks amazing with all those additions. Now, one more honorable mention that I need to give out is to Snake Eyes version 4, who just missed out on the list by one. It was between him and another. Well, you'll see what number 10 is in a second, but I had to make a strong, harsh judgment here, because I love Snake Eyes version 4, and I love the figure that they made here. I think this figure is beautiful. I love the sculpt. I love the head sculpt. I love the secondary. I love the all the parts choice, everything. the gauntlets, love it. Deco also fantastic. The couple, they might have been able to add some deco on the grey secondary, but they're keeping it very similar to what the original looked like, and that's totally fair in my opinion. Where they missed out on this was the friggin' backpack. Just give him a backpack. And I'm not like a little clip for the swords. I mean like an actual backpack so he could house or even lock in that grappling hook and have the swords connect to it and have the machine gun clipped to it, and maybe give him a pistol for a side holster, so that you're not like, that the again, I don't have any issues with that holster, but I know Paddy did, and I know quite a few people have that, like it's just a big flap at the end of the day, Kitty said, and you kind of slop it in there, but mine stays in there fine. But I know a lot of people didn't have that sort of luxury, so that is probably a little bit of a failing in that sense. But I would say overall a great figure. It's just missing that storage capability, and a decent backpack to homage the original, which had a launching grappling hook backpack. Doesn't have to be launching, but it just needs to house the friggin' grappling hook. In any case, that's my whole shout on Snake Eyes version 4, and it's the reason why he lost out to the 10th spot to himself, Snake Eyes and the polar bear. Now, what an amazing set this is. I was definitely a little bit like, I was as excited when we found out that Snake Eyes and a bear were coming. We didn't know it was a polar bear, but we assumed it was. The information we had was Snake Eyes and with a bear, and it just made sense that it would be a polar bear based on Snake Eyes' experience with bear-like creatures in the past. And that was early on in the kind of process. And then obviously when we were at Toy Fair, we got a chance to see the set in person, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. And then now obviously it's in hand, and the bear, he's right here. Come here. His foot was in the trap, but this thing is insane. Like the chod of this, it's insane. Just a thick, pulsating, awesome polar bear. And he's got, I've gone, for some reason I've gone, he's all upset and angry because he's got the crossbow bolts, or the arrows in his flap, and his foot was in the trap as well. That's just me being, I don't know why I've put him in such, like, now I'm thinking that he's in agony and pain, and I need to change his default setting on the display so that he can enjoy himself. I just feel like everything's Toy Story. As soon as you leave the room, they all come to life, and he's just going, ah. But yeah, this thing is gorgeous and heavy and articulated to the nines, and that's not even like, yeah, that's really cool. They've made an amazing polar bear. The Snake Eyes is rad as well. Like, really good additions to that particular figure. Love the deco, love the shout out to that kind of sunbow, not black, but it is black kind of vibe. It's the purple. And then of course the additional hands to make him like radioactive was a great shout. And I love the set. I think that Snake Eyes is really cool, and I think the polar bear is really awesome. And it's my number 10 of the year. So shout out to Snake Eyes. He does get on the list, but not the Snake Eyes version 4. Now at number 9, I've got Retro Flint, because I'm a massive Flint fan. I love this particular figure. I love the character. He was huge when I was a kid growing up in terms of the Action Force International Heroes vibe. And yeah, I just was so excited that he was getting the retro version, even though I absolutely really loved that first classified version and the Tiger Force version. But now that we get this, I feel like I'm complete. And it's like, yes, I've got him. The only reason he's a little bit lower in the list, and he would have been higher, is the unfortunate, terrible card art that came with the retro figure. Now, if you were fortunate enough to get a Rich Pellegrino version, then first of all, I'm very jealous. And second of all, if I'd have got that version, that would have propelled this to like a higher number, I would say, because that Rich Pellegrino version is wicked. I really like what he did with his version of the artwork. Do I want? I mean, is it makes that much of a difference to me? If you're looking at the whole package, sort of, yeah, and especially with retro, where it's supposed to be about the card back as well. I just feel that they're kind of missed a few obvious like things, and the artwork on this is just so poor. It's such a shame. So yeah, hopefully we have seen the end of AI, although we kind of saw it a little bit with the last wave as well. But hopefully we've seen the end of it to some degree going into 2026. But we'll have to see, won't we? In any case, Flint, absolutely love the figure. The actual figure itself is phenomenal. So really happy. My only note for the actual Flint as well, and why he's not higher up, is they didn't give him his classic Sunbow pistol. That would have been perfection for me in terms of the figure. But there you go. He's at number 9, and fight me. It's Flint. At number 8 is the entire Cold Slither set, because hot damn. I mean, 2025 was the year of Cold Slither, wasn't it? What an amazing marketing rollout that Hasbro did with that, and Super 7. Like, it was a multi rollout. They had an actual band. It was incredible. Like, they showed up at events. They did live performances, bloody good ones. They did a whole album release. I mean, it's, when you think about the logistics that go into this stuff, it makes you shudder a little bit. And the fact that not only did we get amazing toys out of this, but we got an actual real life band. We got a comic, like an actual standalone issue exclusive. We got multiple exclusives from Super 7 in different colorways, like randomly, like this, and just insane amounts of Cold Slither related merchandise, t-shirts, different vinyls, so many different vinyls. One of the reasons I got tried to get all of these was because I love collecting the vinyl as well. So loads of amazing stuff like that. And the classified toys, the set, phenomenal, just absolutely beautiful. The only thing I would say is give them a bloody microphone, guys. That was the only thing I would say on that one. But yeah, so Cold Slither, whole drum kit, come on, whole set of figures, amazing. They're my number 8 of the year. A bit of a cheat because they're all involved in it, but they're all so good, and it's just a great kind of, and like the updates are in the right place, like the details on the clothing and on the instruments, but not taking away from what they actually look like in the cartoon. Just love it, absolutely love it. There you go. So Cold Slither. At number 7 is the Desert Scorpion, because oh my god, a giant amazing scorpion. I think this is another one of those figures where people, like, you get the kind of classic Desert Scorpion, and you can throw some things on there and change some things up to do like more classified, updated sort of vibes. I'm talking like the kind of unmasked head. You can take it or leave it, basically. But the actual figure itself is just an absolute home run. There's loads of gear, loads of cool accessories, and then of course you've got the freaking Scorpion, which is just next level. Again, I think Classified and the team, the Hasbro team, have made probably the best animal figures at decent price points for those particular animal figures of all time. And I mean, what is my experience in animal figurines? Schleich, and they're amazing. They did some cool like standalone, like statuesque sort of animals, which I was raiding early on for certain characters and figures in the G.I. Joe lineup. But they have done articulated action figure animals better than any one ever, I think, personally. And we just keep getting these amazing additions to the line, and now we've got a freaking giant scorpion. It's like, come on, guys, this is nuts. Paisana says he doesn't wear a black shirt in Sunbow, so he doesn't really need a Sunbow pistol. Right, yeah, but I get what you're saying on that one. Maybe there's a Sunbow redeco in the future with that pistol, but I like that pistol I want in the classified line, basically, and that was a perfect place to put it because he uses it a lot, Flint, in the Sunbow cartoon. But yeah, Desert Scorpion, my number 7, just an absolute tour de force. And again, any animal, a lot of animal and pets. I think Law and Order is another honorable mention here when we're talking animal pets from 2025. Sorry, animal pets, figure pet sets, because again, brilliant figure set. But like the polar bear and the Desert Scorpion, sorry, Order, nothing against you. You're a beautiful doggy, but I mean, these figures are crazy. But Law and Order, another honorable mention to go in this sort of like in this conversation. Moving through, now we get to 6, and it's the snake armor. Move your body like a snake charmer. I mean, this is absolutely insane, this thing. We initially heard this was coming with a figure, so obviously that was incorrect information. But when we heard it was coming with a figure, we thought, well, that's going to be pretty big, right? And then we heard how big it was going to be, and we were like, that's ridiculous. And when we saw the thing, I mean, I was my mouth was on the floor when I saw this thing for the first time, and I saw Lenny like opening it up and showing it off in person, and I was just like, this is insane. Like how all the different segments open up and come out. Like it's just on another level. It's on a new level. Yeah. I'm on a new level. All of the details inside, the little kind of readouts and all that kind of stuff, just the detail in general, the articulation. This thing is just unbelievable, actually. So yeah, it's going to be high up on the list, and you're probably going to be surprised at what's ahead of it, honestly. But this had to be on my list in some way, shape, or form, and it got to number 6. And then you might see other things next, and you might think, well, it's better than that, but not for me personally. Okay, this is my personal top 10. And I will, spoiler alert, Slice and Dice do not get on my top 10, but they are also phenomenal and could have been on a different day with the wind blowing in a different direction. My farts, that is, I might have chosen that 2-pack as well, somewhere here, and it certainly needs an honorable mention because that 2-pack is phenomenal. Anyway, number 5, it's Heavy Duty. Now, Heavy Duty was high up on my list recently when we talked with Adam, Pat, and Paddy on the specials. And you're probably going to argue, well, shouldn't it be higher on this? Well, yeah, should be. But there were other figures that were just, that I wanted to kind of include. And this is where my top 10 sort of, started to kind of develop a little bit towards the back end, Kitty said. So Heavy Duty, I talked about him a lot on the specials. If you haven't seen those, you can go and check that out for all of my rundown on why I love this particular figure. But what more to say? The figure alone is great. It's a very satisfying, awesome inclusion to the line for Heavy Duty. The hat's awesome. The accessories incredible. The freaking mech suit he wears is incredible. Like, it's the only thing that he's the only person right now that could go up against a snake armor and survive. Like, he's just phenomenal. So I'm into this. I'm into every single aspect of this particular figure, and he would have been higher had, again, like I'd eaten something different moments before choosing my top 10. But he's number 5 for me. At number 4, we're going with Budo. Yes, didn't talk about him enough on the specials, and I don't know why, because maybe it was one of those things where I just forgot about him, which is mental, because how did I forget about him? He is exceptional, and so many different options to choose from with this particular figure. Like, he is like 4 or 5 different figures in one, really. Like, if you start kind of really breaking down the options, like, no gear, different heads, kind of regular gear, Budo style, vintage, more updated, kind of classic, not classic, more updated, like 30th retaliation Budo. And then, you start mixing and matching all of these different options. and it just gets out of hand. So many different like secondaries and helmets, and yeah, just absolutely phenomenal stuff. So Budo for me is high up there this year, and I was excited when I knew he was coming. I was even more excited when I heard he was going to be a deluxe figure. It made me think, oh, are they going to try and make him very samurai and give us the vintage version? And they sort of basically have done that, but really gone to town with the details. And yeah, I'm just really, really, really happy with Budo. Matt says swords on the wrong side, insult to Japanese culture, Budo. Like laughing face, laughing emoji. But yeah, I know there's that element to it, and I don't know why they keep ignoring the sort of the sides of where those sort of things go, because you think they'd be all over that. Anyway, by the by, it's an amazing figure, and Budo is one of my favorites of the year for sure. At number 3, and of course, I had to put Crystal Ball in here because he's so bloody good. And he is like, a great update to this particular character. What more is there to say? He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason, because lots of people voted him in there. Lots of people love this figure. The additions they gave him are brilliant. The shield with the kind of what do you call it, the kind of cover as well, it's also lenticular underneath. You got the sword with the kind of like the really intense kind of see-through glowy piece kind of plastic. You got the Cthulhu head, you got the actual crystal ball as well. Like, there's so much to love about this particular figure, and I could be here for ages going to every single detail on him. Just so much amazing stuff going on with this figure. And of course, like I said, he's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. So congratulations to Crystal Ball for getting in the Hall of Fame, and also for getting my top 3. Now, for my number 2, it's, well, you probably work it out actually, because if you know me at all, and if you've watched any of those previous episodes, you'll know this. My number 2 is Wetsuit. I think this is a phenomenal update to, a phenomenal version to bring into the classified series. They stayed very true to his vintage style with the few updates they gave him, which I think are actually on point. There's a few haters for the flippers, but I think they're cool. Like, I think they're really cool. And of course, I have that nostalgia bias that it sort of what's the word? It was sort of like a precursor to the Hydro Viper, because clearly Hydro Viper are going to have those flippers for sure. But I think they work really well in that colorway with Wetsuit. And the other thing I really loved about the update, because everything else is pretty much on point vintage style, is the addition of the sort of like the update to the underwater vehicle, which attaches to the backpack seen here as well. So loads of really cool features on this one. He's got the halogen lamp kind of thing as well with the loop on it. He's got the pistol. He's got the knife. He's got everything you need for Wetsuit. All of his gear, the helmet, removable helmet with the pipes, the backpack. It's just everything on this figure is perfect. Even down to just the way the figure is designed as well, like just the proportions, everything about this figure is great. So he's really up there for me this year, really up there for me as being one of my favorite figures of the year. And had it not been for the next figure, which I think you can all understand and probably know who it's going to be, and I won't linger too long on these two because you've already heard me talk about them. If it wasn't for number 1 that came out as well this year, Wetsuit would easily be my favorite figure of the year. And that's crazy, isn't it? Really. But the number 1, as I'm sure you can understand and expect, is Pythona. Yep, baby girl. Pythona in the house with all of her amazing accoutrement. The cape that I absolutely think is one of the best soft goods of human history. The fact that you don't have to, like, it's one piece. It's one piece, get it? And you can just literally do all these things with it, and it sits right in every single like situation. When the hood's up, it covers the head, no matter what hairpiece she's got on, by the way. When the hood's down, she looks phenomenal. You can have the kind of like the kind of like sides at the top rolled over the shoulders, or you can have them roll over. Either way looks phenomenal. She is just that alone is absolutely phenomenal. But then you get all of her accessories. You've got the four-headed electricity eel snake thing that cuts open the fence. Move number one. You've got you've got the face huggers, like the kind of the sticky the clam tapeworm, which wraps that Crimson Guard up. The squidgy face hugger, which does all sorts of damage. You've got the gassy sort of hand, the mashed potato hand, which is like, when she puts it on the Crimson Guard's face and it kind of steam comes out, acid effect kind of thing. It's dark, man. You've got so many cool things. You've got a sticky clam, an open sticky clam. You've got like those two like weird like Tron like circular blade things, which are really interesting. But I would probably add are kind of an element that are made up, because I don't remember seeing those at any point. The only thing we don't have is the squidgy pufferfish grenades, which she throws into the pits as she's running up to Serpentor. Anyway, just absolutely on the gem of that size, of course. Multiple head sculpts, multiple hair pieces, multiple hands, the dripping, thing. All I would say is I think she needed long fingernails, like just regular extended fingernail hands, just two of them. I think would have made this. I don't think we necessarily need the BT in the clam. I think the sticky clam that's open is enough for that. I think throwing a BT in there would have been a bit overkill. But yeah, I think the just having those like long claw fingernails would have just been absolutely the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. But to be fair, they've given us a lot of accessories with this one, and the figure as well, like the detail on the sculpt and the deco, and the face is gorgeous, and the deco on the the makeup, and then of course the fangs and the teeth and the other I mean, it's just like, come on. And a lot of people were a bit weirded out about the fangs. Even Adam Riches in a lot of the episodes we've spoken about this Pythona in, he had a bit of an issue with her being a vampire all of a sudden. I'm like, mate, they're snake teeth. She's got fangs. Like, she's a snake person. Like, who wouldn't expect her to have fangs, at some point, or like even grow them? I feel like that's something that's actually well on theme with Pythona. Anyway, yeah, lots of really, really cool stuff with this one. And Stanley's asked, what might they reuse from Pythona? Good point. Well, maybe some of her accessories could go with, like, I don't know, a globulus, or a who else could we get? Maybe like like a citizen of Cobra La down the line. I don't know. There's not much else left, really, is it? It's just globulus, and obviously the Royal Guard we know is coming. We've seen renders for it, but yeah, I don't know. Either way, maybe a redeco of her down the line, maybe a retro carded version of her in a more Sunbow-esque deco. Don't know. Hard to say that one. I would love to see her from her appearance in, I think it was G.I. Joe European Missions, which I just so happen to have here. It's not this issue, but it's Action Force Monthly as well as I know it. But you know what I mean? She's in one of those issues and she's in yellow. And I think that would be such a cool sort of redeco, her in yellow. It's so dope. Anyway, Pythona is my number one classified figure of the year. There you go. And look, no more 2025 listings, guys. We're into 2026 straight away. No changes either from last time. Still don't know where Zanya lives on here, or where those Arctic 3 pack goes. But hopefully we'll find out, sooner rather than later, and we can update it on here for you. Because as soon as I do find out, that will go up on this list, because it's already been revealed. So it's really just a matter of isolating what listings they are. Paisano says, still can't believe the Royal Guard is going to be the most expensive army builder ever. True that. I think that might just be a twofer, because it's all well and good wanting multiples of those guys, because you'll need them for all of the different options you can make. But yeah, that's going to be a tough one. We've hit 2 hours. I apologize. Let me move through this thing, because obviously like nothing else to really talk about but with the listings at the moment. The name only reveals officially are Iceberg, Deep Six, Chabang, and the Taurus and Red Dog 2-pack. And then of course we've got Ninja Force Sartan, Hydro Viper, and Zanya on the other side as well for name only reveals. Digital renders, we still have the Arctic Steel Core, Drift Viper, Arctic Saw Viper, and of course the Cobra La Royal Guard. I'm sure we'll see more of this stuff in the new year. Well, we're in the new year now, but in the next couple of month and a bit, 2 months maybe, under 2 months now, because Toy Fair's the 14th, so it's like a month and a half basically. Did Sci-Fi make my list, Jersey Ed? He did not, but my God, what a great shout! Because, well, there's loads. That Sci-Fi is definitely one that I would put in. Again, different day, the wind's blowing differently. Sci-Fi could have made it. He should definitely have been in the honorable mentions. But then at some point, you've got to draw a line under. Like, are you just naming every single figure that came out? The thing is, a lot of good figures came out this year. Lots of them. Lots of really cool play sets came out. The Steel Core and Defense Post, Steel Sentry and Defense Post is amazing. All that stuff is great. The Defense Post for the what's it called, the modular fortification from Cobra, and that Alley Viper redeco is amazing. So yeah. Also, shout out to the made to order Arctic Hiss, which is finishing tomorrow. Don't forget. So get your order in if you want to pre-order the Arctic Hiss, the Arctic Assault Hiss. I think, yeah, the 4th is the last day that it's available. What's really funny about that white, you just mentioned the Rattler. I haven't even opened it yet, but there's another honorable mention that really should be in there. The Rattler and those amazing figures that came with that. Like, it's just too much. We got too much. We were spoiled. Short Fuse and Steeler was an amazing 2-pack. The Sergeant Mercer was an amazing 2-pack. Even the friggin' Divers was a good 2-pack. Like, there has not been a dud this year, in my opinion, but it's crazy. It's crazy how solid the classified year was. Anyway, that's enough for me. Let's have a little break there, and we'll talk shout outs and finish the show because I've been going on way too long. Sorry, guys. Where am I? There I am. Yes, you should also say, let me know your top 10s, Super 7 and classified and anything else. Just your top 10 in general of G.I. Joe things this year. Let me know in the comments, please, and thank you. And also, Battle Action Force, the Deluxe Treasury Editions, go get them now. We've already had a commercial for them, so I didn't think I need to play it again. But there you go, Battle Action Force, Deluxe Treasury Editions, TotalToyBooks.com, Skeletron.com, and Amazon as well, if you want to get them wherever you are located. Also, big shout out to this year's like the winners of this year. I would say the fact that the Deluxe Treasury Editions got won 2 award nominations, and they got an honorable mention at the IDA Design Awards. So phenomenal work. Best comic collection and best indie comic winners at the comic scene for 2025. Congratulations, guys. Brian mainly for that one. You did an amazing job, and honestly, these are the best volumes of any comics I've ever seen in my life. They are gorgeous. Anyway, there you go. That is that. Also, shout out to my usual co-host, but not obviously on the weekly for a long time now, but was on the last couple of specials, Pat Stewart, of course, and to Articulated Points, and to Phil Donnelly of Articulated Points. Go check out their phenomenal YouTube channel. It's so awesome. And they do some real deep dives and some really, really cool, not just G.I. Joe, but lots of other things as well. And it's really cool. So check them out. Also, massive shout out to codenameiowa.com. You may even be able to get a few sneaky Full Force tees from codenameiowa.com still. They might still have a few left. Obviously, it's a little bit sparse. We were picked clean to some degree. So if you still are looking for some Full Force tees, you can find them at codenameiowa.com. You just go to codenameiowa.com, then go to store, then go to Full Force, and you should be able to get involved on those tees as well. So try and see if we've got any left in your size. Hopefully we have. And also massive shout out to Skeletron. Cheers to the new year as well for an amazing year for them as well, managing to get out those 6-inch figures. And it's more than an honorable mention in that sense. You know, if I should have done like a top 10 sort of like third party, also kind of like like not Hasbro sort of situation, shouldn't I? And it would have been heavily Skeletron, to be fair, with a bit of Fans Hobby and a touch of Gridiron in there as well, I imagine. But yeah, anyway, massive shout out to Skeletron, and of course the amazing product that they have produced for us so far. And of course, you can get your RoboSkull Mark II. They are back in stock on skeletron.com right now. That was Toy of the Year 2024. And I don't even know what Toy of the Year was for me for 2020. Pythona, I guess, for me this year. There you go. So shout out to them. And of course, I just wanted to shout, this isn't like part of 2025. This is actually, well, it is technically. I just wanted to shout out Paul Plastic Battles for some more beautiful toy photography. This is a banger. Go check out Paul Plastic Battles on all of the socials. And go check out the videos he does of these as well, where he shows off the kind of process to actually create these bad boys. But this Cobra Commander one, with the Night Creeper, is just phenomenal. And not only did he do that one, he did this one as well. Mercer holding back a bunch of mole rat looking geezers. So yeah, amazing stuff. Dark Energon as well, you can see kind of spewing through the door. Just beautiful stuff. So well done, and love that stuff. And just wanted to shout Paul out as well for his amazing work. And that is it for this long episode of the Full Force Weekly. I could have split that up, really, couldn't I, on second thoughts? Oh, you live and learn. In any case, thank you very much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. I'm not doing a panel at Joe Fest, Clint. Sorry, I will not be there. But yeah, enjoy, if you are going, enjoy that anyway. Any European outlets for Skeletron products? Asked Jason. I think they ship to worldwide, but yeah, I guess like in terms of, you mean like, is it where it's not as bad shipping wise? I don't know. I'll have to ask, but I don't think so. But they do ship globally, I believe. In any case, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for an amazing year, and we'll look forward to 2026 together, I guess. So I'll see you on the next one. Stay fresh, cheese bags, and as always, after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3. Full force. Latest. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.